We're going to take our filament dry box and we're actually going to modify it so that we can use it to hold our AMS Lite. That way, all the filament on the AMS Lite will be kept in a dry box. It'll be nice and dry. We won't have to worry about drying it before we use it. So I have my trusty Easy Storage IP67 50-liter container here. And I printed a little part. And what this part is going to do is guide the Bowden tubes off of the AMS Lite through this part and out of our dry box. And I'll have a link for you to be able to print this part. Now, what you want to do is put the part at about the center of the box and pretty low. And I just use these two features here on the side of the box as measuring guides. Doesn't have to be that exact. Those features are about 16 inches apart, which means the center is right about here. And I actually put a little yellow dot there, which is hard to see on camera, but it is there. I'm going to take my Bowden tube guide. I'm just going to stick it on the inside of my box. Like I said, I'm going to put it pretty low, and it's centered on my dot. And what I'm going to do is make a mark where one of the screw holes goes, just one. And I've got my green dot. It's a little hard to see, but I have a green dot there where that mark is. So the next thing I'm going to do is drill that hole out. So I've got my 1/8 inch drill bit here, and I'm just going to use it to drill one hole where I put my little green dot. There we go. Just clean that up a little bit there. Get that off, clean that up. Okay, so now what I'll do is I'll take my piece. I'm going to take my M3x8 screw. And again, which side you put where is up to you. Thread it through the hole. There we go. The hole. Put that on there. Let's just get this like this so you can see. Put a washer on. There's my washer. Oop, drop my washer. Get a washer on. And then get a nut on. So I'm going to tighten this nut up and I'll be back. Now with my first M3x8 screw and nut assembled, it's on nice and tight. I've got it leveled, and now I can see exactly where the other one goes. So I'm just going to do what I did before. I'm going to take a little dot. I'm going to mark it with my marker right in the center. Okay. Then I'm going to drill that out. Let's drill that out. I'm going to set it up like this time, make it a little bit easier on myself. Drill it right out there. That was much easier. Clean it up a bit. And again, I'll put the second screw in, and when I'm done with that, we'll be back. Okay, so now we've got our Bowden tube guide on. This next part is just a little tricky because if you, I'm not sure if you can see it, but the holes on this guide are not round, they're oblong because they're coming at an angle. And so in order for the tube to come out, we've got to drill an oblong hole. Now that's a little bit difficult. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our drill bit. This happens to be our 5/32 drill bit. We're going to drill from the inside very carefully, following the path of our Bowden tube holes. And we're going to drill that out. So I will do that, and let's see how that comes out. Okay, so I haven't drilled my hole yet, but just a piece of advice. I fed my drill bit in without turning the drill on. So I just fed it in. I'm sure I'm lined up. I can see the drill bit right at the end there. And I'm very slowly going to drill it out. Okay. All right, I'm just going to repeat that process. Okay, so I found when I did that, as you can see, it's a real mess. There's all kinds of debris trapped between the Bowden tube holder and my storage box here. And these holes didn't drill very cleanly. So I'm actually going to take this apart, clean it up, and drill the holes from the front to get them a little bit cleaner. Okay, so that part was a little bit more difficult than I wanted it to be. I even ended up taking a razor blade and a handle and scraping the excess off the outside of the box to make it smooth. But the real test here is, how does the Bowden tube work? So let's just see if I can get the Bowden tube in here. See if it slides out, and it does. So we've accomplished our goal. It fits pretty tightly. Don't worry about it if it's a little loose. Yeah, it's going to let moisture in, but it's such a small opening, the rate that it lets moisture in is going to be trivial. I know that from experience. Okay, so let's finish assembling this and see how it goes. The next part is to drill a hole for the communication cable that comes out of the AMS Lite and connects to your A1 Mini. Now, let's just talk about that for a second. If we look at our AMS Lite, we will see that the cable comes out from the right side. And that's important. When you load the AMS Lite into your dry box, you want to put it so that the cable comes out on the right side. The other thing is we want to make a hole in the bottom of this dry box that's just big enough for the cable to come in. But we want that cable to be pushed as far right as possible so that it doesn't interfere with the Z gantry on the A1 Mini. So I'm using a 3/4 inch or 19 millimeter drill bit, and I'm just going to sort of eyeball a spot over toward the right edge of my case. You don't want it all the way over because you are going to put this up on a stand, and the stand is going to interfere a little. So you want to push it back just a bit, and you want it just about centered. So we're just going to put it right about there. Okay, there we go. Nice hole. So also you're going to find in the on the website an STL file that will have a grommet that you can screw into that to help seal the dry box. So we've taken our dry box and we've put it on top of our stand, and I'll talk about how to build that stand in a couple of minutes if you're interested. And I've also loaded the AMS Lite into the dry box. Now I wanted to point something out here. If you'll notice, the AMS Lite is actually sitting on a yellow and black pedestal. The pedestal is obviously two different pieces of 3D printed parts. The lower yellow piece can be printed, basically as is without supports. The upper black piece needs supports, but only on these overhangs here, only on these 3 overhangs. And of course, it's got 2 sides to it. The 2 pieces, the black and the yellow pieces, are super glued together, and then you screw them back in to the AMS Lite using the screws supplied with the Lite. Once you've done that, I took the entire AMS Lite, loaded into my box, and again I loaded the communication cable down through the hole that we had drilled just before. So let me talk a little bit about that hole for the cable. So one of the parts you're going to print is this screw. It's actually 2 halves of a screw, and we're going to use that to seal the hole. It's pretty simple to do. You take 1 half of your screw, just stick it in. Take the other half of your screw, stick it in the other half, just like that. Take the end of the cable, drop the nut over the end of the cable, thread it on through, and it should screw on pretty easily. Let's see if it does for me. Yep, it screws on pretty easily. You don't have to make it very tight. Just finger tight is good. And that's all that takes to screw that part of the cable together, nut together. With our AMS Lite loaded in the dry box and the communication cable routed through the hole, the next step is to run new Bowden tubes. Now you're not going to be able to use the Bowden tubes that came with the AMS Lite. They're too short. You're going to have to get new Bowden tubes. You'll need 2 32-inch Bowden tubes and 2 34-inch Bowden tubes. So give me a second. Let me grab my tubes here. Make sure I have the right lengths available. Okay. So we're going to start with the 34-inch tubes. And they're going to obviously go to the 2 spools in the back. The longer tubes are going to be loaded on the front. We're just going to push them through. And we're going to pull them and just push them in the back. Not a big deal. Pull them down a little. They're not going to have a lot of headroom, so don't worry about it if they don't. Then we're going to get the two 32-inch Bowden tubes. Stick those through the bottom. And those are going to go to the ones in the front. There we go. With the Bowden tubes routed through the dry box, now you have to load them into the into the A1 Mini itself. We're going to take the lower two tubes, the two tubes closest to the bottom, and we're going to load those into the back ports on our A1 Mini. Go. And then we're going to take the remaining two tubes, which are now the top tubes coming out of the dry box, and load those into the front. And last but not least, we're actually going to use the strain relief that came with the A1. I'm sorry, with the AMS. I'm going to just clip this on. Clip the communication wire. There we go. Now we're all set. So the last step is to put this desiccant tray into our dry box. And if I had desiccant, I'd actually fill it with desiccant and show you that, but unfortunately I don't have any right now. Then we just put the lid on and we're all done. So if you like this project, please let me know by leaving me some comments. If you have any suggestions, I'd be more than happy to hear those as well. And if you'd like to know how to make the desiccant tray, please see the link at the end of this video. Thanks very much.
So just to talk about this frame for a second, just so you know the lumber you need if you want to build it. These uprights are 21 inches. You need 4 of them. These cross beams are 18 inches. You need 2 of them. These cross beams here are 6 inches. You need 1, 2, 3, 4 for the other side. And then in the middle here, you can't see them, but in the middle here is 5 and 6.